issue.
All right, and over to Perrin Davey. Perrin, I think you've been active on committee inquiries looking at the nation's general handling of all things to do with the COVID era and restrictions. Are you satisfied, based on what you've heard today, that the caravan is moving on, that the three-step process is largely being adhered to? We can see, not quite a return to normality, but almost within 6 weeks.
Look, I think we should congratulate ourselves first and foremost. Australians have done an incredible job at flattening the curve. People have listened to advice. We've generally followed all of our advice. We've socially distanced, and it's paid off for Australia. And if we can keep the trajectory going that way, it's a really good thing. As we are moving through the stages to reopening and getting through to stage 3, the important thing is opening the borders. It has been one of the biggest impediments. Certainly the Gold Coast Mayor was out again just this morning crying out for the Queensland Premier to reopen their borders because the impact on their tourism industry has been incredible. New South Wales and Victoria have treated it differently. They haven't had border closures. People have been able to move about, but they have still been following the health advice, and we have still flattened the curve.
Queensland is moving down this track and will by, well, it looks like the 10th of July. Perrin, on the stadium gatherings, if it's 40,000 venue, you could have about 10,000 watching a footy match or a show of some sort. That'd be regarded as progress, would it?
It's great news for sports fans, and it's the first step to reconnecting with our sport. But importantly, as well as professional sports reopening and recommencing their seasons, we're now going to see community sports restarting. And that's community sports, particularly in regional areas like where I live in Deniliquin, those community sports are the backbone of keeping our community together. It's great for mental health, it's great for physical health. So I think reopening of sports and seeing our sports starting again and having professional sports back on our televisions is a real morale boost across the nation.
All right, Amanda, protest this weekend. Most people who've joined us on Capitol Hill this week, we've asked them the question, so let's go through it with you. Would it be your intention to attend any this weekend, and your own advice to those who may be contemplating it?
Look, I'm not planning to attend any rallies, and it is very important to follow the medical advice and the directions set out by states and territories. It is important to recognise that states and territories are making different determinations, but it is important for anyone to look to their state and territory premiers and chief ministers to work out what the rules are in your state and to follow those directions and to follow the health advice.
Yep. Perrin,
so
I
that's
imagine,
my view.
Yeah, fair enough. And Perrin, I'm imagining that's a unity ticket. If you're rock solid, as I assume you are, most coalition members share that view.
It is. I share Amanda's view. The only other thing I would say, we saw on the back of last weekend's protest, there was someone who attended a protest in Melbourne who has now tested positive, who didn't have the COVID Safe app downloaded. So if people are choosing to go to the protests against health advice, could I at least implore them to download the COVID Safe app so that if we find ourselves in this situation, it helps our state and territory health departments trace back, contact trace people so that we can try and minimise any further spread of the virus.
All right, well, leaving you both with enough time to scramble to your respective chambers for question time, can we kick out, Amanda Rishworth, the culture wars, statues, movies, TV shows? Are you comfortable with the gradual removal of these in the name of reconciliation or just general historical correction?
Well, look, firstly, I would say that when it comes to TV shows, that is a matter for the broadcasters. They have to respond to their commercial, or when it comes to the ABC, their broadcasting mandate. But I think, trying to erase our history in general is not necessarily going to promote a full understanding of it. And I think truth-telling is a really important part of our history. So whether it is when it comes to statues, having a full understanding, extra plaques being put on to understand all sides and all perspectives of historical events are quite informative and can be quite challenging, but really important in our perspective. So I think
Balance
it's
in all things, maybe.
whatever we do, we can't erase what's happened. We have to understand it. We have to talk about it truthfully, and we have to give a fulsome understanding to future generations.
Yep. All right, Perrin, last word to you. I know you've got to go. We all do, but just on that.
Yeah, look, I actually couldn't agree more with Amanda. It is really important that we don't try and erase it and then have the capacity to pretend it didn't happen. It did happen, and we need to learn from what happened to make sure that it doesn't happen again in the future.
Fair enough.
So we need to make our society better.
All right, Perrin Davey, New South Wales National Senator, thank you for joining us on Capitol Hill, and Amanda Rishworth, not for the first time. Thanks as ever to you two.
Thank you.